Hey everyone, Brian here. Today I've got a bit of a special video for you guys. With the upcoming Phoenix Wright game around the corner, and me being absolutely in love with the series, I thought it would only be fitting to make some videos on it. Today, as you might have guessed from the title, will be a top 5 cases of all time, in my opinion. I do want to stress the my opinion part, as I doubt everyone will agree with me. Do note that this is a very constrained list, and that even if a case doesn't make it on the list, it doesn't mean that I hate it. I'll also be doing honorable mentions before number 1 so you don't all verbally assault me for not including certain cases, because I can already feel the pitchforks being thrust in my direction. There is only one rule for this list. Only main series games released in America are allowed. So no Edgeworth Investigations, no Leighton v. Attorney, and no prequel. This is to keep everything more simple and tidy for everyone. So let's get right into it.
Let's do this!
Are you alright, miss?
Number 5. Rise from the Ashes, a staple from the original game. Released as an extra case as an incentive to buy the Nintendo DS re-release because the game was originally only available on the Game Boy Advance in Japan. On top of being the only case in the entire main series without Turnabout in the title, this case has absolutely no Maya Fey. I won't say why to avoid spoilers. But that sucks, we all loved Maya. How could this be one of the best cases when Nick isn't even a sidekick without Maya? Well, it makes up for it with its slew of newly introduced characters. One of my personal favorites being Emma Skye, a girl in high school all into science. That is, until she got tainted by Cthulhu's dark influence in Apollo Justice. Wait, her work is already known? Does that mean Apollo Justice never happened? All joking aside, what's so impressive about this case is how well they managed to introduce so many new characters and go over their backstories in meaningful ways, while also delivering on an amazing narrative that keeps you on the edge of your seat all throughout the game, keeping you wondering on the full truth of the case. But the only reason I don't rank this higher on the list is because the pacing can be pretty poor, and when that's mixed with how long this case can be, it can be somewhat tedious and frustrating. Not to mention there's absolutely no suspense in this case at all. They tell you who does it right in the beginning! What the hell, Capcom? Didn't you learn from the first case?
Done. Ready to go? You bet! Let's do this!
Number 4. Reunion and Turnabout. This one is absolutely heart-wrenching. Full of betrayal and depression. The ending will really leave you empty at the events that happen. If that sounds like a bad thing, it's not. This case begins at Maya's home village, up in the mountains where she's currently with her aunt and cousin. Here she is practicing and perfecting the Karain spirit channeling technique. Maya invited Nick up to the village so he could be around for her first official client that wants her to channel a spirit. But everything goes wrong when the client is murdered behind closed doors and Phoenix has to clear her name. But this is the kind of case that could bring you to tears. The roller coaster of emotions you experience as you dig deeper into the truth of this case is simply intense. But other than that, the pacing is great, the new characters are all well written, and the villain is extremely unexpected. This is simply a super solid case from the second game of the series, and one I have no problems putting on this list.
Done. Ready to go? You bet! Let's do this!
Number 3. Farewell, My Turnabout. believe it or not, I was actually not going to put this case into the list because I felt it was a bit redundant with another choice that I had made. Thinking about it more though, I realized this case simply does enough right to differentiate itself from the rest of the pack. Not wanting to spoil this game because the beginning is just too good to do that to someone who has never played this, let me just tell you that this case really goes against the Phoenix Wright norms up until this point. With one of the best twists, some of the best suspense, as well as one of the best villains the Phoenix Wright series has ever seen, this case just can't be left out.
Done. Ready to go? You bet. Let's do this!
Number 2. Bridge to the Turnabout. I'm sure exactly 0 people who are fans of the series are surprised to see this case on the list. Some of you, however, might be surprised it's not number 1. But let's go over what this case does right, and that's pretty much everything. The narrative is so interesting, the story is so intense. Everything is so unexpected while delivering so much closure. This case alone could turn the 3rd game into a damn novel, that's how well made it is. It's long, but it only works to its advantage. It ties up so many loose ends throughout the story, loose ends you didn't even know existed. It's incredibly bittersweet, and it was the main contender for the number 1 spot for a while when I was making this list. Now, I really don't want to spoil anything in this case because it's just so damn good from start to finish. Bridge to the Turnabout was intended to be the very last case of the game series forever, but you can't keep down potential profits, eh, Capcom? You could just feel, however, that the writers put their all into this masterpiece. I highly recommend that anyone pick up Trials and Tribulations. It's one of the very best, if not the best game in the series, depending on who you talk to. So I guess that just leaves one question. What did I put as the number 1? Now it's time for the honorable mentions, aka the I didn't forget these great cases, so please hold off on those angry comments you were about to write. First one I'm going to go over is Turnabout Goodbyes. Now, Turnabout Goodbyes was a contender for the 5th slot, and while I think it's way more important to the story than Rise from the Ashes, I genuinely think that Rise from the Ashes is simply a better case overall. Turnabout Goodbyes was a very poorly paced case, a problem with most cases from the first game. Next is going to be Turnabout Serenade. Yes, despite me wanting to punch a hole in my neighbor's wall over what they did to Emma Skye, I didn't hate Apollo Justice. Entirely. Turnabout Serenade was a fun case with an interesting twist. It just didn't do anything compelling enough to make the list. And finally, the last one I was going to put on the list was the Stolen Turnabout. I wanted to include this case for its extremely fun story and characterization, but I just couldn't put it on this list over Farewell My Turnabout. As with everything from Trials and Tribulations, I highly recommend this case.
Yeah, it's for this very reason I returned. Time to bring it to an end.
Number 1. Alright guys, this is a spoiler alert. If you haven't beaten Case 4 of Dual Destinies, I'm going to be dropping a massive spoiler. Continue at your own risk. Turnabout for Tomorrow. Some of you might have seen this one coming. Before I go into why this case is amazing, I'm going to preface it by saying what happened in the case prior. What happens is there's a bombing and murder during a rocket launch, and an astronaut by the name of Clay Terran was killed. The accused was a fellow astronaut and mentor to Clay who goes by the name Solomon Starbuck. Thanks to the hard work of Athena Sykes and Phoenix Wright, they clear Starbuck's name, but they end up getting Athena placed as the main suspect instead. This may seem like another cliche, Phoenix's sidekick is the suspect again, but it works so well for this plot, and I'm not sure how else they would have done it. In trying to prove Athena innocent, they had to dig very far into the past, revealing so much about everyone involved. This really ties everything together, only to smash it apart later. You end up going on a wild ride of emotions. You even begin having second thoughts of characters you loved or hated in the series as well, while having the best twist in a Phoenix Wright game ever. However, if you want an example of how to end a game, this is how you end a game. You make people second guess everything you thought you knew in the entirety of your playthrough. This shatters your entire perception of the game and it makes it so eerie if you go for a second playthrough knowing what you didn't know before. But it's not just because the creators made it unexpected. Hell no, it's because it makes sense. It all makes sense. But there's no way you could have seen it coming. It's like smashing into a brick wall. That's how jarring it is. Anyways, if you haven't played Dual Destinies, I highly recommend it. Even with the spoiled fourth case, it's an incredible game that I myself have played numerous times. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I know I normally do lead content, but I really wanted to put some stuff out there from my favorite game series of all time. If you want to see some more Phoenix Wright content, be sure to leave a like. Also, be sure to tell me in the comments what your top 5 favorite cases are. I'd love to see what you guys think. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.